Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my webinar this afternoon. My name is Colin Wilson, and I'm going to take you through a process of understanding the value of a good sales process. Everyone is on mute, and we're just starting this webinar as we speak. And the first thing I want to say is to all of those people who are on this webinar that are in lockdown, especially in Melbourne and New South Wales, I feel sorry for you, but it's just pretty challenging. But we need to move on, and we need to keep business going. And sales is a good way of doing that. So I always say, in any company, no sales, no business. So let me take you through a bit of a journey, and I'm going to share with you some of the best practices that I believe in that creates a really good sales process. Okay. So today's webinar, some things that I'm going to talk about is how to prospect and engage with potential customers, how to network yourself into opportunities, how to use marketing tools to leverage more sales, how to present the best solutions to your potential customers, and then how to handle objections and close the sale. I don't have my video recording on today because already so far this morning in a few meetings I've had, our internet has been very shaky because I think a lot of people at the moment are all working from home like I am, and what they're doing is they're chewing up all the internet. As I mentioned before, my name is Colin Wilson. I'm Director of Key Business Advisors. We've been operating now for 13 years and just absolutely love what I do. It's not work, it's all pleasure and challenging. And for those of you on the webinar that have had a taste of my services and myself and what I do and the team here at KBA, you know what we're all about. Okay, so today's webinar, everyone is on mute mode at the moment. I'm more than happy to take some questions throughout the webinar, and I want this to be an interactive webinar, so I think it's great if there's a chat box, you can put a question in, and I'll be more than happy to answer it. For everyone on the webinar, you will see obviously the full webinar. For those people who have registered, and we've got over 40 people who have registered for this webinar, they will receive an email with a link to the webinar where they can view it at a later time. And for anyone else that's on this webinar, if you want it, you can go to our website, free information, webinars, and there's over 25 webinars that I've done in the past that have all been pre-recorded or been recorded and that are set up there ready to go. Okay, so let me get started on this webinar. So for those who know my business, Key Business Advisors, our mission has always been to take business from good to great. How do we get companies to that next level? And sales is what also does it, along with other parts of the services that we offer. Our purpose is to take our customers on a journey to help them improve through all aspects of employee engagement and performance. So again, all of this is what contributes to making a great company. Here's an example of some of the list of services that we offer: our business strategy and growth, people culture, HR advice and support, and obviously the professional sales training that I love to do and get involved with many companies. Okay, so let me start on my first topic. So how to prospect and engage with potential customers. So this is a thing that most professional salespeople hate to do. Let's face it. And I think cold calling is a thing of the past, although, in today's world, I still go out to organisations where there's a high expectation that salespeople need to go out and cold call a customer. I think there are better ways of doing that, and I'll share that through this process of going through this process of this webinar. Okay, so my first point is when you are making a particular phone call, what is the reason for the call? And I've listed down here 10 key points. So first of all, is it a customer service call? Are we following up a customer that's used our services, or maybe waiting on a delivery, or it could be also we've completed and delivered, for an example, our services, our products or services have been delivered to the customer and installed, and we're doing a customer service follow-up call to make sure that they're happy. That's a pretty easy call to do. If we're starting to then get into the sales mode of hunting and fishing for opportunities, it might be worth doing some form of research call. In today's world, we always do, if we're going to call somebody, do that 60-second check of who we're calling, Google the company they work for, and try and find that point of difference. But a research call could be something simple as ringing a customer up and saying to them, look, hi, my name's Colin Wilson, I'm calling for Key Business Advisors. I'd just like to know who is the person that manages your sales team within your organization. And, and again, that's a bit of a shotgun approach, and you might have a situation in 10 calls where you get 3 names and 7 no's, not interested. And that is part of the game of selling. But there are better ways of doing things. If you've got, for an example, a hot prospect or somebody who's been referred to you, which is what I think is one of the best forms of getting a lead, then obviously we want to call for an appointment. And in today's world, our appointment may no longer be face-to-face. It might also be a Zoom or a Teams appointment that we're trying to make with the customer. It could be called to sell a product or service over the phone. So this webinar that I do is pretty broad in trying to covering all aspects of sales. And there are organisations out there that do sell a product or service over the phone. So it is about how you get that attention for that from that potential customer to make sure that you are on the right path, on the right track with them. One of the things that I love about and always talk about is a campaign. So what is your campaign? So is there some reason for the customer to take a call? And a good example is if you run, I'm very big, and when I go into companies, one of the things that I do, especially when I do like a 1 or a 2 day sales workshop, workshop with the company, is what campaigns are you running? So a campaign could be a breakfast campaign, a launch of a product campaign, could be a referral campaign. It could be, for an example, a campaign that you're offering, 30% off a particular product. Some sort of incentive, something that incentivizes motivation, if I can put that, for a customer wanting to talk to you. And it works both ways. It also motivates you too, as the professional salesperson, to make a call because you're chasing down a campaign. So I'm very big on, when we're making calls, especially what is our reason for a call, have it linked to a campaign. Having a referral or inbound sales lead, we all love that and we all live for that. And it's about, how we get more leads into our companies that helps us, go on that merry way of creating a lead and then a follow-up process. You might be calling a customer for some form of presentation or demonstration. So you've got an opportunity to present, a new product or a new launch or something like that, or a demonstration. And that could also be part of the sales process, which I go through a bit later down the track. But you've gone and given someone a presentation. You've actually given a proposal. Now you actually want to get them to come into your showroom and do some form of demonstration with them, or maybe go live out on their site and do some form of demonstration. It's pretty easy to follow up a follow-up call from past dealing. So we've used to deal with us, and we've come back to get in contact with you again. And one of the things I call in the sales terminology is a win back. So a past customer that may have lost, try and win them back. Could be a good reason for call. Follow up on the next step of a proposal. So you've given a proposal. Now you're going to follow up and ask, if they've got any questions with your proposal, so you can try and close it, which I'll go through at the later part of this webinar. And then, my favorite, which is every salesperson's favorite, is to call to ask for a commitment and close the sale. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all about. We're all about how do we close the sale. Anyone that's done any training with me, one of the things that I always talk about is ABC. Always be closing an outcome of what you want to achieve. So when we're making a phone call, what is the outcome that you actually want to achieve? Is it an appointment? Is it a follow-up from a campaign and with the goal to get an appointment? Is it to do a demonstration, presentation? Is it to close the sale? You're always looking for some form of outcome. Okay, the next thing is about what is your preparation plan? So do you have a preparation plan for when you're making a call? Do you have some sort of call cheat sheet, which I'm going to show you one in a sec? So have you researched the company and person you're calling? So when we're about to make a call to somebody, I think what is really important is you do your research first. Now, it's easy if you know somebody and you've built a relationship with them. That's the easy part. I mean, a lot of people, selling is easy if you know who you're talking to and they like you, right? But this is not what this webinar is about. It's about implementing a good process to make it happen. You need to ask the question, is it a cold call, a warm, or a hot lead? And again, that's important to work out, well, that's how my approach is going to be when I ring this customer. As I said before, is it the call linked to a campaign of what you and your company is running? So again, what creates motivation is, what is our campaign? What are we running? And then how do we follow up and ring that customer to create an opportunity? Have you identified 3 or 4 main points you need to make to that potential customer that you're about to call. And what I mean by 3 or 4 main points, it's to get them to think about the reason why you're calling and why they may want to see you or have a conversation with you or buy a product or service over the phone. Do you have a list of questions you want to ask? Do you have some form of call script? And have you prepared a response for the most common objections? And typically, you know, when I do a lot of training, especially when I do a lot of telesales or over the phone training, the question's always asked to me is, Colin, how do you overcome when they say something like, I'm dealing with somebody else? And, you know, my answer has always been, or what you say to the customer is, that's fantastic. What does this person or this company do for your organization or do for your company? And try and keep them talking. And then the secret is to go and find something that they haven't brought up that you can go and create an opportunity. Say, well, look, okay, I know that you're all set up for all your HR services and everything like that, but we also offer things like, for an example, and I'll refer to this business, people and culture surveys, employer staff satisfaction surveys, and that's what I want to have a conversation with you about. So I've just changed tact. And that's what sales is about. You've got to move quickly, and you've got to, if I use the word, dance on your feet when you're making calls. I think what's important also is, as I said before, what is the purpose of your call? So you sit down and you write down your call script. After your introduction, you get straight to the point. Hi, my name's Colin Wilson. I'm calling for Key Business Advisors, and the reason for my call is, and then you just go straight to what you want to do. I'd like to make an appointment with David to come out and see him to have a conversation around this, this, and this. Now, if I don't know who David is, I might have done a research call before. If I know who is your sales manager that manages your sales team, and they tell me it's David Smith, okay, well, then I then hang up the phone, I wait a day, and I ring back wanting to go and talk to David Smith. So it's important that we have a good reason to call. Typically, when I go into a company, the question's always asked is, what about if I email? And I don't have a problem with that. You might email a contact and about some information of your company. And then what you then do is you follow up, and that is a good reason to call. I sent David an email yesterday, and I just want to follow up based on the email that I've sent him. So the more stronger you are at this, and the more, if I use the word, on top of your game plan, the better the result's going to be. If they're not interested, I think you've got to go back and sell the reasons why you've called them again, and sell, you know, that added value, the benefit of your products and services, and why they're dealing with you, right? I think it's important why they want to, they need to speak to you, because if you genuinely believe you've got a good product or service that would benefit from a company, then I think that's what you've got to go and push down that phone, and you've got to have that enthusiasm as well, because again, you've got to be on your game plan. Wait for the buying signals, and either buying signals. So the buying signals could be, yeah, I'm interested, or this is that. And one of the things I talked about before is we're always closing. So if we're making an appointment with a customer, as well, I'm available next Monday or Tuesday, which is alternative closing. What suits you, morning or afternoon, 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock? So we're always closing an outcome. If we're closing the deal or closing the sale or whatever you want to call it, you've got to know where it sits in the pipeline, and that's the reason for your call, to actually make sure that happens. I totally agree with setting up. So if you're new to this game of getting on the phones and calling people, then you want to have some form of call plan. You want to know when to follow up. So, okay, David's not interested at the moment. When would be a good time to follow up? Again, ABC, always be closing. And I think what's important in today's world, we need to have some form of CRM database, where we're client records management database, where we're entering information in that prompts us to make a call. So if I sit back and have a look, I'm just going to show you an example of a prospecting call sheet. So this is available for anyone that wants it. All you got to do is just shoot us an email after this webinar. I'm more than happy to send it through, but this is a template that I typically would run through a company. What is the purpose of your call? Is it linked to any campaign that you're currently running? What are the main points you want to get across? What questions do you need to ask? Write down your call script and get straight to the point. My reason for my call is, and then expected objections. What are we going to get? What are the main top 3 objections we might get, and what's my way of overcoming those objections? Selling the reasons of why you've called them again, which is sell the, as I mentioned before, the added value, the benefits, your products and services. Wait for those buying signals, or either close a deal or get an appointment, follow up your next follow-up call, and then enter into a database. I use this template to help people who have never made phone calls before to follow a script. And once they fill out a script prior to making a series of calls, after about the 7th or 8th call following the script, they can put the script away, and they're, if I can say it, they're into some sort of mojo, they're in their game plan on making calls. Now, all of this is absolutely fantastic when we're making our calls, but if I can say, one of the things that we do very, very well at Key Business Advisors is if you go to our website, you will see there's a lot of downloads of free information. And when people download information from our website, that then triggers a follow-up call from a lady who works for us, Sarah, who is a tally appointer, to then make an appointment to see myself or one of the HR consultants. And that's all part of our sales strategy in what we do. And again, if your organisation was looking for some help in that, then I'd highly recommend that I have a conversation with them to try and work out what is a good way of creating. You know, you put a blog out or you put out social media, it should always go back to your website, because I think your website's like a menu of at a restaurant, a nice fine dining restaurant. People want to pick and choose what they want to download, and then that triggers an action. And the way it works in our business is someone downloads something off our website, automatically goes straight into our CRM system, and an email is sent to Sarah, who's our tally appointer, to say, opportunities come through, you need to get onto this. So it's a good seamless process that works very, very well. So I hope I've explained as best as I possibly can in the short time I've got of a webinar in how to prospect over a phone. I have a cheat sheet, 9 steps to successful prospecting and selling over the phone. And here it is. If you click on that link, that will take you directly to the spot in our webinar where there's free downloads. And that's part of our lead generation that happens in the business of Key Business Advisors. All right. So if I have a conversation around topic 2, how to network yourself into opportunities. Now, networking is a thing that, you know, I talk about the lockdown before, and I feel sorry for people, but there's nothing better than good face-to-face networking. I can assure you of that. So let me take you through some tips, and I know I've got somebody on this webinar who's from Western Australia, so you go for it. You've got all the you got no reason not to go out, whereas us here in Victoria and New South Wales, we're in this famous lockdown. Okay, so let me talk to you a bit about the power of networking. So networking is something that you always need to do, and to me, if you're a startup business or you're you know, struggling a little bit to try and get your name out there and get your business out there, then networking events are a good way of doing it. And for me, I think BNI is a great opportunity. I started 13 years ago. I was part of a BNI network. It was a unique group. We were in this BNI group for, I could say, a good 3 to 4 years, and we're still contacts and refer each other from that network. And our business has evolved since then, obviously 13 years later down the track. Industry associations, I think, is great. Local government events, local council is absolutely sensational. We are part of the City of Moonee Valley. They run fantastic networking events like Women in Business and other events. We love being part of those events because that is about connecting people, business owners with other business owners. So I'm very big on that. And if you don't have any type of networking event on your schedule or on your plan, you need to do that, because we always need to be, if I could say, putting ourselves out there and having a good sales process, and lead generation is a good sales process. I also think social responsibility, giving back, is very, very important. You know, and in this company of Key Business Advisors, we are part of 3 non-for-profit organisations that's voluntarily. My wife is on the board of an organisation called Youth Now, where she's helping young people get employment. Myself, I'm part of an organisation called Tee Up for Kids, which helps raise money through the medium of golf for kids that are in foster care or out of home care, and that's all about generating some money for them. And obviously another organisation that I'm very passionate about is Keely's Cause, which is about a young lady who at the age of 14 come up with a concept. 16 started a business, and she's got a great business that donates iPads for kids with special needs. So part of that social responsibility is important, because just because we're part of it, the amount of people that we connect with and meet, and I'm not saying like I'm not part of it to try and win sales, that's not what I'm there for, but the opportunities do come your way when you run into people, and then later down the track, you know, they contact you and say, look, I'd like to have a conversation about your HR services. The best part of networking is being referred into somebody else's network, and that is key. So again, you know, if you're putting stuff out on social media, and that's the power of social media, and someone likes you or endorses you or recommends you, then that is a way of networking. So LinkedIn is a really good example, and again, LinkedIn is very, very important. It's a social media platform. You know, I get probably 3 to 4 people every day trying to sell me something through LinkedIn, and I can tell you, just from my point of view, unless I know them or been introduced to them by somebody, I'm not interested unless it's something that I really need in the business. Yeah. Facebook is another form, and I always talk about LinkedIn is more business to business. Facebook is more business to consumer. Retailers around Facebook. Same with Instagram and Twitter. Well, that's another professional network in itself. Networking is about finding somebody who likes you and what you do, and where they endorse you to others. That's what networking is about. So I go back, the best form of lead you'll ever get is a referral. And if you can get referrals to your business, I think that is extremely important. And that's something that you just got to keep asking for. Most companies that I go in and I ask, you know, how active are you asking for referrals? Majority of them is very poor. They do get them, but they come organically. I think part of the sales process is, if you're needing leads, then you start asking for referrals and networking those referrals back to you. So to me, every day you're networking, because that's part of lead generation, and that's part of what keeps a salesperson happy. I always say, show me a busy salesperson, I'll show you a happy salesperson. Okay, so if we have the opportunity to go to a networking event, what are the secrets, right? And again, we've all been to networking events, and one of the things that I hate is I hate that person running around with 20 business cards in their pocket or in their hand, and then they're spraying them out to everyone. To me, all that's doing is just showing ego, and it's not, I don't think it's professional. That's just me personally. So my tips on networking events is, don't sell and spray them what you do, right? Because it's not about that. It's about you engaging with some people. And to me, I think you want to find, ideally, no more than 5 or 6 key people, right? Because out of those 5 or 6, you might get half of them that'll have a meeting with you next week. And then, you know, opportunities might raise from that. And it's not about selling to people at a networking event. It's about trying to tap into their network, like I just explained on the previous slide, that they might know somebody who would be good for your business. So I think being professional and asking questions, some chit chat like, tell me a bit about your business. What about yourself? How long have you been in business? When did you start? And you're asking these questions. What do you love about your business? What do you find most challenging? Tell me a bit about your clients. I might have some clients that might be of interest of your services. So you're not selling you, you're asking questions of the person who you are networking. If there is good synergy, they will ask you the same questions back. If it's a one-way street, you'll find that conversation won't last too long. You've got to be interested in who you are talking to. So you know what? It's not about you sitting back going, hang on a tick, I don't think I can sell to this person, I want to move on to the next person. Because they might have a network of 500, 1,000, 2,500 people that's on their social media. So again, that's, you know, you're trying to tap into that. That's part of the way it works. And again, I think if you've got good synergy with people at a networking event, you know, the old exchange of business card is great, but what's even better is the exchange of LinkedIn connections. I think is really, really good. So as I said here, find 5 or 6 people who have the same values or aligned and are passionate as you, because then there's good synergy. And you know, that's the way I want to deal. I want to deal with people as passionate as what I am in what I do, and there's good synergy. So then let's have a chat. So let's arrange to have a chat with them afterwards. Test the water. You know, what do you prefer? You know, do you want to do a phone call? Do you want to Zoom, a coffee meeting? And you know, I always love the coffee meeting because I love coffee, but it's a good way of getting to meet and greet somebody. I also like to go, if it's business to business, into that customer's environment. So when I walk in through the front door, I get a good visual of what this business is all about. That's just the way I operate. You've got to work out what works best for you, and connect with them on LinkedIn, again, as I mentioned. And what's really important is take interest in what they are posting and doing again, and do your research. Look at their company's Google reviews. I think that's a big thing of today. So, you know, if you've got, and we go into companies where they've got, you know, great services, great products, but they've only got 2 or 3 Google reviews. You know, this is something that, you know, I'm very much conscious effort for myself in trying to get good Google reviews. Hopefully after this webinar, if you like what I've gone through, you might give us a good Google review. Okay, so that's my points on networking. The next topic is about how to use marketing methods to leverage more sales. So this sort of links back to the prospecting side of things that we were talking about before, having a good reason to call. So lead generation, it's all about building a sales engine, right? So as I mentioned before, referrals are number one. Referrals are number one for your business. The more referrals you get, the more successful you're going to be, and the easier it is, if I could say, to do the sales pitch. Having a great website, not a good website, a great website with useful information. So what I mean by useful information is not about what you want to sell, it's about what the customer reads at the other end that's important to them. I look at this webinar, we run webinars every month, it's part of our sales process, they're free. You know, we've got a lot of people that have signed up for this webinar. There are, if I could say, there's over 40 people, there's about 20, 50% that I know, and there's about 50% that I don't know. So that would hopefully lead to some more opportunities. You need to have what I call good products and services brochures, so good information for somebody to have a look at. So not everyone likes to make a decision on the spot. Sometimes they want to go and absorb the information that's been given to them and walk away with it. And again, you know, today's world, products and services brochures, they should be in digital format and also hard copy. I love the downloadable information and tips, which is all over our website. I think there's about 25 tips you can get on how to run a business, sales, HR, people and culture, and we get normally in a good week 4 to 5 people who download off our website that creates a reason to call those customers back. It's important to send out good articles, newsletters and blogs. And again, for every time I go into a company, we do a bit of business planning and some strategy work, I want the business owner to write the blogs of what's going on out there in the market, rather than, you know, if I can say it, paying somebody to write an article that they don't have the same passion. They've got to have the same passion. So you've got to have somebody in your business that has the same passion as you, or if you do engage a third party, they've got the same passion and interest as your business. But for me, I love it. You know, in our company, I write our newsletters. Our HR consultants write, or our whole HR team writes articles, because it's what's going on out there in the marketplace, so it's live information. It is critiqued by the wonderful Emma, who's in our marketing of our business, and then we then put it out there on our socials, which is it's emailed through our database to our contacts and also put out on social media. All of this generates opportunities for our business, which, as I mentioned, the next one, which is about using the power of social media. You might want to do things like webinars, Zoom presentations, again, like we're doing right now. I think, you know, with lockdown, certainly during the pandemic of last year, I did a webinar every week. Just to give you the power of what happened at that webinar, we had over 800 people join our CRM database, 200 people download information off our website within that 3-month period, which has then created a strategy in our business and an opportunity to grow with extra staff. And that's pretty much what's happened to us. So, you know, have we been lucky? I say, well, yes, we have, but we also created our own luck by being really active in the space of doing things like marketing downloads and stuff like that. Company events such as, or launches like breakfast, lunches and evenings. And for those of you on the webinar, you know, Friday was a really hard day for me in this business, emotionally and draining, because we had 30 clients booked to a breakfast at the Hyatt as a way of saying thank you for supporting us through COVID. And that got cancelled at last minute at 4:45 on Thursday night due to Daniel Andrews, right? So we all need to move on and live and roll with the punches. So it's not an easy road for anyone at the moment going through this this pandemic. But you know, the good side is we will redo it again and keep going back. And that's what sales is all about. You just got to keep going back and keep, you know, what's the word? Dealing with the punches and moving forward. I think other advertising, which we do a lot of, is Google paid, Facebook paid ads, flyers, all the things that, you know, will create some form of lead generation. And just to make a few of you laugh on this webinar, I found 500 flyers that were like 4 years old, a little bit outdated, but we put them out there and did a postal drop anyway, just to see what's gonna happen. So that'll go out to some of our surrounding areas this week. And then again, networking events. All these things help build lead generation. And I think, you know, when I go into a company and, you know, and I'm doing a lot of professional sales training, they say to me, we want our guys to cold call. Well, I think cold calling, you still sometimes have to do it, but it's not your mainstream of getting leads. It's all about doing all these things that I've just spoken about that creates good lead generation that'll come back to your business. Okay, so building sales opportunities and pipeline. And, you know, pipeline is what's coming. So to me, what's really important is you get a lead, you need to follow up on those opportunities and not leave them too long. What's your strategy? Make an appointment, you know, Zoom or face-to-face. That's the thing that we live in a world of today. You know, we also need to understand the difference between what we call a suspect prospect or a qualified prospect. So for those of you on the webinar, the way I explain it is a suspect is, it's just a business card, it's just a contact name. So, you know, there are 20 odd people on this webinar or registered this webinar that are just a contact, they're a suspect. A prospect means I know that they're in the market and they're looking for some of your services. And a qualified prospect is what we really gauge things on, is I know they're in the market and I have all the decision makers, the stakeholders present when we're presenting. When we're working with our customers, potential customers, we listen to what your customers want. What do they want? It's not about what you want to sell them, it's about what do they want. So again, part of the sales process is sitting down with the customer, learning a bit about their business and finding out what are their main pain points or what are they looking for in their business, and then you work out, well, I've got something that might be of interest to you, and then you follow a structured sales process to follow. You need tools of trade to demonstrate or present a recommended solution. And tools to trade to me are like things like brochures, presentations, all the things that that you need to show and tell a customer of what you're all about. What are they looking for? Are they looking for, you know, some form of pricing? So you've given them an indication of what you can recommend them. Do they want an email in a doc format with a price on it, or do they want a formal proposal? And again, you know, for the guys or for everyone that's on this webinar, you know, I think that's a question. ABC, always be closing. How would you like me to give you some pricing on this? Because proposals might take a good hour, whereas an email might only take you 15 minutes attached with some key information. And again, what that's about is about using the best of your time management. And if anyone understands people's personalities and the way people operate, if you have a very detailed person, or they've got to go and present this to a board of directors or upper management, they'll probably want a formal proposal. But if you're dealing with a sole trader business owner that hasn't got time to go through a 15-page, 12-page proposal, then maybe one email dot format is enough for him to make or her to make that decision. So again, you qualify that. So based on what I said, everything is about what is your client's strategy to win more business. And it's sales is something that just you don't start and stop. You start and you never stop. You're always looking for sales opportunities. All right, is your company set up with the following? So brochure material, service menu of products and services, any research or published information, a plan, phone call sheet like I gave you, or an appointment sheet, some sort of client needs analysis. Do you have your proposal templates? Because again, you know, when we have a conversation with a customer, our proposal templates are pretty quick to put together. And again, we have an area that's fixed within our templates, and we have an area which is like an executive summary, which comes to the discussion, and then the products and services get added in. Does your company have good testimonials, case studies, and Google reviews. I think on our website we've got something like 23 or 24 testimonials, which is great, and it's something that I'm always wanting to add fresh testimonials and keep adding to that. You have a CRM database, which has got a list of your current and potential clients that you want to market to. Those professional sales kit folders might have an iPad or a tablet or a laptop. And again, I work with a lot of young people who in getting into sales for the very first time, and you can see them, they're going out and they're having a face-to-face meeting with a business owner, and they pull up a laptop and they are punching away behind the laptop, and the business owner is looking at the back of their laptop and not having a face-to-face conversation. So I think it's important that, you've got to have your strategy. And, I remember one time I was out with a guy and I said, mirror the person you are talking to. If he's got a folder and a notepad and a pen, you open up your folder notepad, your professional sales folder notepad and pen. If the opportunity arises where you can present off a laptop, ask their permission. Would you like to would you like to see what I can show you? I think is more professional, as opposed to going in, opening up a laptop and then starting a conversation, which can sometimes lose a bit of that interaction. Other advertising material. So for me, one thing that we've set up, and I go into lots of companies and do this work, is if you have a website, can you sell off your website? Because one of the things that I love to do is sell off our website. Here's our website. These are the services we offer, right? Because if they've got to go and talk to somebody else, I actually want them to go back to our website and go, well, here it is. So we're actually educating them about our website. And then good social media content. So if you've got really good content that's out there that's relevant, then again, all that helps your organization to have credibility. I do say, when you go, a consumer goes into a look at a hotel or go accommodation or something, we're now trained to go and look at things like reviews, information about that place. As a company, you need to have a good website and all that social media content, which is important. If you look at our website and you scroll to the bottom of the page, we've got our website, and then we've got all of our, for example, socials that are on the bottom of the footer of our website. So we're bringing both sources together, which again is very, very professional. Okay, how to present the best solution. So please feel free to ask me some questions if you've got any questions as we're going, and let me know how I'm going if you're happy with what we're going through. But so far, no one's dropped off the webinar, so I find that is a good sign. Okay, so how to present the best solutions to your potential customers. Okay, so how prepared are you, right? So do you have the tools of trade that I spoke about before to demonstrate and present your solutions to your current potential customers? How good is your product knowledge or industry knowledge? So again, this is the thing that, people who are good at buying, if I can say that, and directors on most companies are very good at buying, they can tell straight away whether someone hasn't got good product knowledge. So the moment if there's doubt or there's any type of trust that's broken, you'll never sell them a product or service of what you're offering. How good is your so do you see yourself as a professional sales consultant? So that's one of the first questions I ask when I do sales training. Do you see yourself as a professional sales consultant? And not always do I get a show of hands. So to me, that's a decision that you need to make. I am a professional sales consultant. And if you are a business owner or a sole trader and you're trying to sell a product or a service, guess what? You're a professional business consultant, because if you don't make sales, you don't have a business. Do you have the confidence to interact, engage, and ask questions? So this is part of preparation, because part of sales is you need to be a good talker. I was very lucky at a young age. I got told that I wouldn't be good for anything because I talk too much, but I'm good for sales. I've proven that over the 30 odd years of what I've done, and now I do what I love to do, and that is train people on how to sell better. Do you have the confidence in presenting and demonstrating a solution? So again, that's part of practice, drill, and rehearse. Can you present? Are you good at presenting off a PowerPoint or Prezi presentation? Can you demonstrate the products and services that you offer? And do you know those products and services, which I think is really important? And do you have the confidence to set up a sale to close the opportunity? Because I think what sales is about is it's not, you know, we all love the customer that rings up and says, hey, Colin, you know, we want to enroll 5 people into your professional sales training program, your B2B masterclass, and, you know, here they are. I mean, in an ideal world, we love that. But, you know, sometimes what happens is, you know, you've got to go through and you've got to explain, you know, this is the process of what we do, was we educate the customer. So I always talk about engage, educate the customer, and be committed to them till you close out the opportunity. So I think, you know, that's what sales is all about, and you never let those opportunities go. You're always following up. How to engage with customers with new opportunities. So if we are in a sales process face to face, whether it be retail, whether it be business to business, business to consumer, whether you're in a trade industry, the first thing you need to do is build rapport with your potential customer. So that is about, you know, you do your research before you go in and meet that customer as best as possible. I always talk about that Google check. Do a Google on the company, do a Google on the person you're going to see, or the people you're going to see, because you might be seeing more than one, and do your research. So when you're going to meet that customer the very first time, you've got to try and build some form of rapport with the customer. And in the sales training that I run, you know, you're trying to identify what motivates them, what doesn't motivate them, I think is really important. And you want to know more about the company they work for, or the, you know, or the business that they own, if you're talking to a business owner, and what's important to them. And to me, you know, building rapport is around trying to find some form of common interest, something around sport, something around technology that both companies might share. Finding that bit of point of interest, I think, is important. As one of our clients would say, you know, he's a great client. He owns a company. I'm happy to tell you the company is called Chef's Hat. One of his rules is all of his people on the sales floor, the first thing they need to do is sell themselves, because if customers like you, then they're going to buy from you, and that's so true. The secret at the start of the sales process is the 80-20 rule. So 80-20 rule is very simple. You, the professional salesperson, at the start of the sales process, you do 20% of the talking and 80% of the listening. And I can tell you the amount of times that people have come and tried to sell me, and they come in and they spray me with everything they've got, and they've not even asked me one question about my business, what I'm passionate about, what's important to me. They're just trying to flog a product. Then, you know, they probably get about 10 minutes with me, and that's it. So what is important is learning about asking open-ended questions. And open-ended questions start with who, what, why, when, and how, or tell me about this, which creates conversation. So that is something that professional salespeople are very good at, is asking lots of questions. And what they do is they fill up a bucket of information based on what the customer is looking for, not what their needs are, so which is not yours, right? Because you're going to work out what's going to motivate this person to buy, and that's through asking questions. Based on the information gathered, you then are in a position to present and demonstrate your recommended solution. And the way that I train it is you're not trying to sell them, you just want to educate them more about what you can do to help them, because people don't like to be sold to of today. And you say to your customer, based on what you've told me, I have a good or a couple of good options that I'd like to present to you. So again, always be closing, getting the nod of the head, getting that agreement, because it just goes to show that they want to have a conversation with you. Presenting your recommended solution to your potential customers. So the first thing we need to do is, number one, is slow our speech down when we're presenting. So when we're asking a lot of open-ended questions, we're writing down, we're taking notes, and then when you're presenting, you want to slow your presentation down. And the reason for that is so they can absorb what you're saying. Remember, they're learning about your product because you're educating them. If you go too fast, you might confuse them. And there's a saying in sales, don't sell a product to a customer and then buy it back off them, because you've oversold it. So make sure that you are presenting based on the information that they've told you, which is my next point. Based on what you've told me, my recommendation is this. And then take your time and go through it. Now, I'm all about, when we talk about your tools of trade, using all forms of learning methods, such as visual. So can you show them some pictures or images? Auditory, this is you talking. And kinesthetic is touchy-feely. With a webinar, you can't touch. So I can only use visual and auditory, and try and paint a picture for you guys on what is possible. But the kinesthetic, if you're selling tangible products, then you want to get the customer touching that product, put it into their hands. You want to sell the features and benefits and the added value of what you are recommending of your products and services and how it can fit into their business. And while you're doing this and you're slowing your speech down, you're listening for the buying signals. So if someone says to you, this is what I'm looking for, I like what you've shown me, they're nodding their head, that is a sign of engagement, and it means you're on the right track. You're watching their body language. So again, as I said, nodding their head, that is all part of the sales process. Us professional salespeople, we use things called soft trial closes. So as I present a feature and benefits to the customer, I might say, is this what you're looking for? And the customer says, yes. Now, rules of selling is when we ask a closed question, we wait for the answer. So just to recap, when we're greeting a customer, the rule at the start of the sales process is 80-20 rule. When we're presenting, we're all using closed questions of yes and no because we want yeses. Yes, 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 which means that we're going to win that customer. Again, it comes back to passion and there's general interest, what the customer's looking for. You might ask them, which is one of the tips that I give towards before you actually ask for the order, ask them, is there anything I've not covered to bring out the objections? Now, if a customer says to you, you've been very helpful, knowledgeable, or fantastic, you sort of know where the sale is heading. If they said, well, I do have a couple of questions, well, that's good. Objections are healthy. If you can overcome them, then of course, then something's going to happen. They're going to buy from you. All right, brings us to my last topic, which is around how to handle objections and close the sale on topic 5. So objections are healthy, so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of objections because it's a sign of engagement, unless they're asking stupid questions. Now, one of the things that if you can follow a really good sales process and you have this really good understanding of how sales work, at the start of a conversation, when you're meeting someone for the very first time and you're showing interest in their business and you're asking them questions, 9 times out of 10, the people who answer those questions with you and engages with you, they won't ask you stupid questions at the end. If you're getting no buying at the start, then pretty much I wouldn't classify that as an opportunity. I'd probably sit back and go, well, I'll give it my best shot, but I'm not going to hold my hat on it that we're going to win this. If you ask the right questions, as I said, at the start of the sales process, then 80% of objections can be minimized. And a good example of that is, tell me a bit about your business. And David says, we started this business 5 years ago. And you've only looking at David in front of you. So it's a good opportunity to start a sales process to say, hey, David, you've said we, is there somebody else that needs to be present in this conversation that we're having? Do I have all the decision makers? You know, what I'm saying is, do you have all the decision makers and stakeholders there? Because that's important. If you know the answer to an objection, then don't panic. If you don't know the answer to an objection, don't panic. And a good tip in sales is when someone asks you a question or gives you an objection you don't know, you be like a politician. You say, that's a great question. Let me come back to that. And sometimes you don't even need to go back to it. Or you can say, that's a great question while you're trying to think of the answer and buy a bit of time. So let them know that you'll get back to them if you don't know the question. Don't lie or fumble through, because again, you will learn more respect, if I can say it, if you don't know the question, especially if it's a technical question, and then you get somebody, which I call a third party person, to come in and help you overcome that objection. Could be a technical person, is a good example. Which is the next point, which is think about a third party close in having someone to come into your sale where they can answer your potential customer's question that you don't know the answer for. And I see that as professional, and it's great teamwork. How am I going so far, guys? Can someone give me a bit of feedback? I think that's important. So if I have a look, have a conversation around some closing techniques. So again, this is it's an hour webinar. Normally I'd run this over a full day, but I'm giving you a taste of what it's all about. But soft trial closes are used to test the water. They're used to gather information for the customer to let you know you're on the right track. So How does this sound? Do you like what I've shown you? Can you see yourself using this? That's what soft trial close is about. Hard close is about, would you like to go ahead? Would you like me to get this organised? Can I get the paperwork organised? That's typically a hard close, but it forms in the sales process. Alternative closing, what do you prefer? This one or this one? Options, either or. It could be product A, product B. It could be I'm selling some finance solutions to you on a product. Do you like option 1 or option 2? Alternative closing. And again, part of selling is if you understand a person's personality and their buying style, which is important to learn, then you'll know what closing technique to use. Assumptive close is used when someone says, rings you up and says, I want or I need your services. We're assuming we're doing business. Or while you're presenting your solution to the customer says, that's exactly what I'm looking for. We need this today. So I'm assuming that we're going to do business. Third party close is where you bring somebody else into the sale. A comparison close is, this is what you're currently paying. So this is, so you're actually teaching someone how to afford it, and or it could be comparing apples with apples with a product. So I've got one of our clients in Western Australia. She's saying, you're going well, Cole. I've got 4 people attending, which is absolutely fantastic. So hello, Jennifer. How are you? And Jennifer's still on our website as a testimonial, by the way, in our website, which is great. And then we have a summary close. So we're summarising, and we summarise. A summary close is like a Benjamin Franklin close. We're summarising based on what you've told me. This is the reasons why I've recommended this solution to you. And you've got to have the confidence to do this and say to them, is there something that not working for you based on what I've presented or recommended? And then we wait for the response. All these closing techniques we use in a sales process. The secret is to the person you are selling to, they don't realise that you're actually using these closing techniques. That's the secret. So it's not a case of manipulation or anything like that. It's just following a good sales process. And again, I go back, if you engage with the customer and you educate them, and you do a good job of that and good job of presenting and recommending your solution, and you have passion, you really don't have to close that hard because the customer will buy from you. Okay, so the perfect appointment, if I was to put that out there. Number 1 is introduction, meet and greet. We ask questions and we try and qualify your potential customer. And this would be also, even if you're on the phone, you're meeting and greeting a customer on the phone or face-to-face. You identify opportunity based on the questioning that you do. You then present, demonstrate of what you can do for this potential customer, and make sure that there is interest. Because if there's no interest, then they're not going to buy from you. Yeah, there's no point pushing something down somebody's throat, and they're not and they're not interested. Showcase your products and services. Use your tools of trade, and show them the brochures, case studies, and testimonials, and proof of concept. Use the right closing techniques that suit your customer. So again, that's mirroring what how the customer is. If they're fast-paced, very direct, then you're going to use, the hard close, assumptive close. You're going to get straight to the point. But if they're umming and ahhing and not sure, then I think then that's a bit different. So which is important. And then make every opportunity count and thank the customer for their business. So I've got a question that's come in, which is great. So how about a long sales process where a prospect is under contract for some time and the opportunity to close might take years? How do you keep engaging with them? Well, that's a great question. So, and that happens. Look, we just won a customer that we've been working with for just over 18 months, and they've only just come on board. So you've just got to, that's part of your sales process and your follow-up. So you've just got to stay engaged with them, but find out what they're passionate about. So, the secret is that if they're passionate about golf or AFL football in Victoria, we are the sporting capital of Australia. Sometimes it's worth just touching base with the customer. It's not even sales related. You're actually trying to find something of common interest or something that motivates them. for those who know me, I'm building a hot rod. I love my cars. So when I talk to other companies or other business owners or prospects, and they've got a car project, and I've got a few of them on the go at the moment, we just talk about the car project, right? And then, by the way, how we're going with that proposal. That's the last thing. It's like a throwaway line at the end of the conversation. That's what you do. And then again, if you've got events that you're running or hosting, like a breakfast event or a lunch event or an evening event or a product launch, you always invite these customers to you because you want to keep them in the loop of what's actually going on. And social media is a big thing. So if you are very good at social media and you notice that one of those customers has liked or made a comment or viewed, then it's probably time that you have a conversation with them as well. So I hope I've answered that question that come through, but that is a great question. Okay, if we look at our sales funnel, and I realise I've got 6 minutes to go, so I'm sort of right on track, and that is important in a presentation to stick to the timeline. So my sales funnel is you've identified a need, so there's an opportunity. What you want from the customer is more information or some sort of needs analysis. You may then present a proposal or a cost comparison or some sort of comparison with them. I'm doing work with an organisation, and loan comparison is what we spoke about. The next thing that happens in the sales funnel, this is all step by step, is they then evaluate the options. So this is where the proposal sits on the fence, if you can say that, or they want to think about it. So the next thing that happens, if they call you, they're going to be asking you questions or proof of concept. This is like a racehorse coming down the track. They'll negotiate or want to come some sort of justification of what you're going to do for them, and then a decision is actually made. Now, we all love the sales process where one call does it all, but that doesn't happen all the time. But if you're putting proposals out there and you're giving pricing and stuff like that, please make sure that you're talking to the right people and they're qualified. And then, once you've given the proposal, ask them, when should I follow up? Can I give you a call in the next 24 hours, 48 hours? If they say next Wednesday, would be great. You contact them Wednesday of that following week. You diarise that, put it into your CRM, and this sales funnel is each step by step of how it works when someone is making a decision. If you've got a proposal out there, one of the things that I always encourage and recommend is when you're following up a proposal, I might ring and say, hey, David, have you got any questions you want to ask me with my proposal? If he says, in actual fact, I do have a couple of questions, well, there's something's about to happen. If he says, no, I've got no questions, say, great. Does that mean that you're ready to make a decision, and can we proceed with what I've recommended? So now you're just going straight out and asking for the order. You don't ask, you don't get, and that's what part of the sales process is. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this webinar, and I've just given you a small taste of what I'm all about. And on our website of today, you can download information on how to build a great sales engine in your business. And there's also the other downloads you can see: 7 steps to retail, 11 steps to business consumer, 12 steps to business. And customer service is a big thing. And again, sales, that's what sales is all about, customer service. They go hand in hand. And I think when I go and do a lot of customer service training, I actually want this customer service team to sit in with the sales team so they can see that end-to-end solution and what it's all about. Hope you love what I've done. If anyone wants some one-on-one consultation, normally I charge $350 per hour. For the webinar participants, if you want a couple of hours with me, I'm happy to reduce it to $200 and do an analysis of how to improve the sales in your business. And the offer, as you can see, ends within 7 days of this webinar. So just come through our info, or you can book a 15-minute free chat with me. Our next webinar is on the 17th of August. And this is, our next KBA workshop that I'm doing. This is a face-to-face workshop. My sales masterclass is here in Essendon. Unless you want me to come over to, more than happy to come over to Kalgoorlie, Jennifer, if you want me to pop over there. It's been a while. Love to come over there and do some stuff with your team over there because it's been too long. Any questions, give us a call. We're pretty open and happy to take any call and support any business that wants to grow, because that's what we're all about. So as I said, you can book a 15-minute free chat. Thank you to everyone on this webinar. Our next webinar is about empower your staff to grow your business. So here's our topics. It'll be myself, and it won't be my voice for the whole hour. It'll be myself with a wonderful lady called Alison Fletcher, who's one of our HR consultants and a team leader at Key Business Advisors. we'll entertain you on how to empower your staff to grow your business. Thank you for attending this webinar, and it is right on 2 o'clock, so I have done well in my timing. And stay safe and keep selling, guys. So that concludes our webinar, and I look forward to speaking with some of you very, very soon. Thanks very much.